Hey everybody, I'm Justin with AmericanMuscle.com, and this is my detailed overview of the Injector Dynamics EV14 high impedance ID725 injectors, available for all 99 to 04 Cobras and all 05 to 14 Mustang GTs. The ID725 injector from Injector Dynamics is going to be for the Mustang owners out there looking to fuel a build upwards of the 700 horsepower range and doesn't mind dropping a good amount of dough for one of the best injectors money can buy. The truth of the matter, guys, is that Injector Dynamics continue to be one of the most popular and most trusted names in the industry, and the proof is in the results. Now, ID injectors are definitely going to be one of the most popular fueling big horsepower Mustang builds, whether all-out drag cars or high horsepower street cars, despite their high cost. And that's because they continue to be an injector that's going to idle great, easy to tune, and most importantly, it's going to be very consistent across the board. The ID725s are actually the smallest injector in the Injector Dynamics family, and they're going to be perfect for pretty hardcore NA builds, small nitrous shots, and mild boost applications, with again a ceiling around the 700 wheel horsepower mark, depending on your fuel and duty cycle. This injector will work with all types of fuel, whether it be pump gas, E85, or race gas, and will flow 68 pounds per hour at 43 psi or 715 cc at the same pressure. As I did mention earlier, the Injector Dynamics options are definitely not going to be your cheapest option at roughly $950 per set of 8, but again, this is a clear-cut example of you get what you pay for. Their design and testing procedures definitely are going to be what separates their products from the others and makes them remarkably consistent. All injectors are subjected to very strict testing procedures, including flow and pressure testing, and also voltage and temperature capabilities. ID is actually one of the only companies to utilize a hydraulic leak test bench, which is great for testing extremely low pressures. All these procedures and all this testing is what's really, again, going to separate their products, and that's why it's very rare to hear about an ID injector failing or sticking. Another reason why the ID injectors are so popular is that they are very easy to tune according to a lot of the big name tuners out there, and a lot of that does go back to the consistency we talked about a little earlier. Now, all these are going to be matched through that thorough testing we just talked about. It's going to produce a more consistent spray pattern. So what does that mean for you? Well, a smoother, better running engine, one that's going to idle like stock, and one that's going to provide a better daily driver experience thanks to that more consistent fuel pattern. One thing I do want to point out is that even though the 725s here from ID will support a good amount of power, again upwards of the 700 horsepower range, I think you'll find the ID1000s to be the most popular choice with a lot of the big power Mustang builds. That's because the ID1000s are going to support more power than these injectors, upwards of 1,000 plus horsepower, and are going to cost you roughly the same price as the ID725s. Ultimately, it's up for you and your tuner to decide what's going to be the right injector for your setup, but it is something to consider if you plan on turning up the boost down the road. You'd hate to have to buy the same injectors twice. The ID725s are an EV14 body style injector and feature a USCAR or USCAR style connector, making them plug and play for most applications. However, they do toss in these adapters here if you need them, along with the corresponding hardware. It is a nice little touch. Installing a set of injectors, really not all that bad, guys. You have to remove your factory fuel rails and those stock injectors, replace them with the IDs, and reinstall in reverse order. Very simple stuff, believe me. 1 out of 3 wrenches when I tell you that. 30 minutes to an hour is really all you're going to need in the garage for this one. Another thing to point out, something like this you really just can't bolt on and go without accounting for it in your tune, so just something to be aware of before you install them. Injector Dynamics continue to be one of the most trusted names in the industry, and for good reason. Yes, the price might be a little high compared to some of your other options, but when you're talking about making big power, you do not want to skimp on your fuel system or cut any corners, because after all, we are talking about the safety and reliability of your motor. So be sure to check out more options from ID for your Mustang right here at AmericanMuscle.com.